Maulana, you explained that Allah did not give man two hearts, but woman's heart is created for nurturing her husband and child. Is there a deeper reality to this dual nurturing power in the female heart that allows her to spiritually sustain prophetic lineages or produce saintly offspring through that devotion?
Deeper? How could it be deeper than that? Through the energy and the power to create from her womb. And as a result, we talked about she's like a generator, and as a result she should be safeguarded and veiled, so that her generator, if you have a generator at your house, there's not a crude example, and you don't guard the generator and your neighbors keep trying to plug into that power, what happens? You won't have a generator at your house, the whole neighborhood will be using the energy. When Allah gives you a pious wife, you have to guard her, and as a result of guarding her, she's going to produce an immense amount of energy for you and for your children. But shaitan knows this system, so he says, no, make her go out. And once she goes out, she's depleted from energy because that was not her role. And now she comes back in and fight. Why? Because the generator is too powerful. So let's deplete the generator and deplete the whole system. So shaitan knows the same system, and that's why Islam comes to guard the honor of women, so that they can play the God-given role of an immense powerful being that creates. They have in their womb the ability to make a heart, make a head, put lungs, and that's when we describe the universe. When Allah says, which one is more complicated to build, you or this universe? The universe doesn't appear randomly, the moon didn't appear random, and just like in the womb of the woman, the lungs are growing, the brain is growing exactly where Allah has always placed them. How does somebody have the power to do that? So they have an immense power and an immense gift. That gift shouldn't be put out for other people to destroy, but they don't believe in the gift, they don't appreciate the gift, they want to destroy the gift. So who designs these fashions? That shaitan, remember, his shaitan going to hit you in 6 directions. Who designs these fashions? Men. Why are men designing? Why? Because they're for shaitan and they want to destroy the gift that Allah has given. So no, modesty and energy practices, then people would understand the real power, and that power can fuel the home and raise the offspring. So now they say in this country, in the US, that he wants to now modify that the women should stay home and should have children. They understood, well that's Sharia. So anybody can now with ChatGTP go back and say Sharia's use in Americas, and then you come back and say, look, this modern scaring of people, Sharia state, Sharia state, Sharia, look, if it's not for Sharia you wouldn't have had divorce, they would kill you every time you had a divorce. All the laws of this country are based on Sharia. Contract law, family law, corporate law, finance laws are all based on Islam in America, because America before the British was what? Catholic. Catholic law, they put a hole in your head to get demons out. Divorce was by death. You killed the wife if you didn't want her. There was no divorce laws, there were no contract laws, there was nothing written. And when we describe that, so our people can take it, post it and make nice beatific teaching things. Canon law is actually qanun. Qanun means law. So when the Catholics retook Spain, they realized these Muslims had a lot of rules, a lot of laws. They took all of those laws and implemented it into qanun, which was canon law. They came into the Americas with qanun, which was Islamic laws, and that all the trade and ijaras and everything that we have in Islam for finance, for trade, for business, for family law was Islamic. They had no system, because the Catholics were ruling, they had no system for asking ijazah. They took from Islamic law that a woman had to give ijazah to be married. You had to go and ask her and she had to give her permission. They didn't have dowry, they were bought like cattle. Dowry came from Islam, that you have to give a certain amount of money and preset that money. You can't negotiate it later. All of these contract laws is Islam. Islam made these lands inhabitable. Now they're trying to make it something fearful and they're going to cut people's fingers off. There's no cutting off fingers, this is all contract law and the law of nature. And now they came back to it. They say, yeah, why did we send all the women to work and we have no more kids? So now he wants to make a tax system that gives you money for having 1, 2, 3 children. And if you have more than 3 children, there will be no income tax for you. So everything he's implementing, go back and say, oh, this is Sharia law. Right? But they don't want to call it that. Sharia law says, honor these women, don't let them out onto the streets, guard them, guard your children. It's the greatest asset that God has given to you. So, one way or another God's kingdom is coming. They want to call it this, they want to call it that, go back to do your own research. You owe all of these laws to Sharia, and they owe it all from Spain and the influence that the Catholics and Spaniards had with the Muslim libraries in the world, and most of which were plagiarized. They took the knowledges of Andalusia and said it was from this guy, from that guy, Aristotle, from Plato, from Pluto, from wherever it was. They took it all from Muslim scholars and they don't want to give the credit to it. But either way it all comes back. When they had COVID and they were scared to death, what were they doing? Making wudu, keeping distance and putting niqab. Everybody had a mask on. Yeah. So Allah's will always be done, but people are fearful and trying to rule by fear and separate by fear. But God's kingdom is mercy and gracious and everything beatific, inshaAllah.